Carl and Liam here from Brrraaains A Head-Banging Life, gbhblofficial.com for short. It's We're Afraid of the Dark. Our Are You Afraid of the Dark review series. Season 3, episode 11, staring down the barrel of the end of this particular season, as one comes up called The Tale of the Quicksilver, which, when I immediately saw that title, I went, what the hell is that about? I actually didn't know. I still don't really know come the end. But you know, I'll buy it. Whatever. It's written by Wendy Brotherlin and directed by Michael Kurtz. So, similar director, but a new writer, or at least no writer's name I don't recognize.
Yeah, I feel like we're in a bit of a barren run recently of some of the more forgettable episodes. Even as somebody that has rewatched the show like at least twice, some of these episodes, yeah, very forgettable.
Well, I'm still waiting at this point. In the season, I'm just always waiting. Oh, is this an episode I might have some familiarity with? Not in the slightest, but I do take note of certain things. And when it came to the cast, I was like, oh, Tatiana Ali is hyperlinked. Why is that? And obviously, I would then find out because I didn't initially recognize the name. But Tatiana Ali plays Lara Turner and Connie Turner. We've got Carl Alasharian as Aaron Johnston, Stuart Stone as Doug Johnston, Jocelyn Zuko as Miss Berg, Ivan Smith as Mr. Johnston, Anita Benesbat as Mrs. Johnson, and Alan LaRoche as the Creature of Darkness, but credited as Zombie in the actual credit, which is a weird one, but there you go.
Yeah, interesting.
Yeah, and there's a few little interesting points about this. This is the first time that in the actual show, the Midnight Society get rained on. I don't know. I thought, what's that? 26 plus 11, that's 37. And 37 episodes. This is the first time. You know,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's a neat new addition, and it does feel like they're doing like a few little more storyline type things with the storytellers in recent episodes.
We are going to keep developing that in interesting ways. And in really interestingly, because if you don't know this, you will immediately see this dude and think, oh, yes. Kyle Alasharian, who portrays Aaron Johnston, is the real life brother of Jason Alasharian, who plays Frank. And holy fuck. It like, oh my God, they're almost twins. It's weird.
Oh my God, I didn't actually know that, but now you say it, I was like, why do you look so familiar? Yeah.
Of course, Tatiana Ali is most famous for portraying the role of Ashley Banks on the sitcom The Fresh Prince of Bel-Air. Even if you've never watched the show, you will no doubt be familiar with the characters and certainly remember hers. Because immediately when I saw her, I was like, well, of course, that's who that is.
Yeah, same. Hmm.
And just always for the crossovers, Stuart Stone was also in the Goosebumps episode Phantom of the Auditorium as Brian Coulson. I didn't recognize him, considering he's the main star outside of the man that plays Dr. Vink. I did not recognize him.
Hmm. Yeah, that's a good point. I didn't really either.
And it's weird because Phantom of the Auditorium is a pretty solid episode.
It is indeed, yeah.
Not Dr. Vink, he's not in Phantom of the Auditorium. I'm getting confused with Piano Lessons Can Be Murder.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. We have a Kiki story, and it's a nice night, perfect for a tale of terror or an annoying kid. It's Tucker. First trying to scare some people, then annoyingly blowing a flute off key. It's from his dad's magic shop, which is supposed to make it rain. Of course, it doesn't work, and Tucker is disappointed. Kiki sees it differently, though, and points out he should never say never. You never know the power of something magical until it's been tested. If you believe in magic, then you know it can be very powerful, but only if you understand how to use it. Magical powers can be used for good, but if you don't know what you're doing, watch out because the same power can turn against you. And I groaned. All right, half grown. Don't love magic wands. They've hardly been solid all the way through, but at least this isn't a Gary story. Because it'd have been a Gary story and magic. Oh, mate.
Yeah. Well, two things I enjoyed, like we've mentioned before, like theorized or potential possibilities of this whole magic shop they allude to, Gary, and how he like obviously includes the character of Sardo, sort of, you know, con artist type magic shop seller, so it's kind of interesting. We've thought of ideas of possibly how that make a tie into their real lives. So to hear Tucker mention it here as well, I kind of like that. But at the same time, I was kind of thinking that Gary's probably like, WTF, I'm the magic guy, that's like my shtick. You can't do
It's,
that.
it's his only fucking personality trait and it's been nicked off him.
Yeah.
Yeah, of course, we've theorized that Sardo in particular may actually have some basis on who Gary and Tucker's father is. Because think about it as well. This flute is supposed to what? Make it rain? Well, clearly it doesn't work, does it? Which is kind
Mhm.
of what Sardil sells anyway.
I like it.
Submitted for the approval of Midnight Society, this is the tale of the Quicksilver. And we begin seeing a young girl in a big house doing some sort of magic ritual. A magic ritual that calls forth a demonic creature in rags. She attempts to control it using her makeshift wand, but it doesn't listen. Slowly approaching her, she starts to panic, reaching for an amulet and accidentally knocking over a candle. This starts a fire. As she commands at the end of the amulet, the demon continues to get closer. She attempts to leave, but the door won't open and the room is on fire. She's shit out of luck, basically. And that is kind of a cold open, so to speak. A solid opening, kind of set up it and went, oh, okay, we killed a kid. Nice.
Yeah, I mean, straight away, that's quite dark, dying in a fire, a child. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I was initially like, well, that's a bit of a kind of crap way to like have Tatiana Ali in it. And I know it's before she's Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, but like I presume she was out of the show there, but obviously that's not the case.
Yeah.
Cut to a sold sign outside that house as we jump 2 years later, and a new family is moving into it. Two adults, two boys, one younger, the other a teenager. Doug is the young one, Aaron is the older one. Exhausted, the boys go to bed, and immediately we pick up on this stuff all the time, right? This house is huge. We see it from the outside, and even when they come inside, they're like, whoa, in the hallway and all that. Why do they have to share a bedroom?
Very good point.
And not only that as well, because their age differences are quite significant. Like one of them I would put almost as a young adult. Like he's got a very deep voice. He looks like he's probably about 17, 18. The other's more like 11, 12.
Mm, yeah.
Anyway, they're woken up by an earthquake, seemingly, but it's localized to their beds. When the lights go on, the shaking stops and they notice all their stuff in the room has been stacked in a corner a la Poltergeist. So think of that scene where like all the table chairs are on top of each other, just not as cool, or with as an iconic sort of soundtrack. Aaron seems to think it's a prank being played by Doug as revenge for scaring him with stories in a hotel room. Then they noticed that someone also painted a Q on the wall. And I don't know, I'm middling. I'm middle of the road about the acting in this, but god damn it, do I hate it when characters just, when they're written in a way where it's just like, they're like, oh, should, and they're like, they start joking about it. Should we clean it off?
Mm,
Nah, and start laughing
yeah.
and joking. It's like, hold up a second. You had an earthquake that shook your beds only. All your shit is stacked up in the corner, which is not like something that happens easily. And someone painted a Q on your wall while you were asleep. And it's really fucking bad. I hated it.
Yeah, I mean, now you point it out, I actually didn't pick up on it at the time, but yeah, you're right.
Um, the next day at school, Aaron bumps into a young girl, knocking her book out of her hands. They meet, and there's an immediate connection. The teacher, Miss Berg, introduces Aaron to the class, and he sat next to the girl he bumped into, Connie, who looks exactly like the girl at the start. And as he walks to a seat, he appears to be followed by a wind as the students' papers blow away. He ends up bumping heads with Connie when trying to help her, and then his table starts to float in the air. Obviously, he's shocked, and then it falls to the floor with a bang. This startles everybody, but particularly the teacher who thinks he's trying to be funny. Right, there's a lot jammed in here. I just wanted to get it through it because it's all part of a sequence, really, more than anything else. This is all by the by, per usual stuff. I immediately had
Mm,
an idea because when I saw Connie and I thought, well, she looks exactly like the same character. She's either going to be like her reimagined or something like that. There's a bit of cuteness between her and Aaron. I think they've actually got a little bit of chemistry. The banging heads thing becomes quite a funny little thing. But again, then we get this really weird thing where, like I said, clearly he's being haunted or something's following him, and he behaves so underwhelmed by it.
mm.
You know,
Yeah, I do agree. But as you said, like the whole sequence in the classroom and stuff, it's very typical stuff from you'd expect from these we've seen many, many times, But it's done well enough. Like you said, the actors kind of play off each other quite well, so there is that.
yet it does continue into Aaron kind of trying to pick his stuff up, but his pencil is something causes it to roll away all the way up to Mrs. Berg's foot, where obviously she looks down and he's on his hands and knees in front of her, which is not a good start. I'm a big fan of that sort of like, it's got a slight tinge of comedy to it, but it's also like, hey, you're the new kid. Now you've been put in this really awkward situation, an embarrassing situation in front of all the kids and the teacher by a ghost. I don't mind that. It's a cool thing.
Yeah, yeah, I agree.
After school, Aaron meets up with Doug and tells him, and these are his words, about his weird day. It's outrageous. his desk fucking floated in the air, and he describes that as weird. Like, whatever the teacher reacted, he felt it and saw it.
Hmm. Yeah, it's a bit of a underwhelming reaction.
It's the theme of this it's the theme of this episode, to be honest, because Doug looks a
Hmm.
little ill, but before they can get into that, Connie bumps into them and Aaron drops his books. He and Connie both bend down to pick them up, and again they bump heads, sort of talking about they got good chemistry. Like if there was a sort of story angle wrapped a bit more around them instead of being distracted by, well, I'll be honest, distracted by Doug. Like Doug
Hmm.
is the distraction here, and I only want to tell a story about his illness, but had it been kind of based around Aaron and Connie, and maybe her soul was trapped in the house and she was using this body in some way to try and contact. I feel like there could have been a good story there.
There could have been, but then we've already pretty recently had an episode about the whole ghost traps trying to discover things. Maybe they decided to not go that angle, possibly. Who knows?
I also think it might be too similar to the tale of Locker 13 or 21, that one.
Yeah, yeah, I know which one you mean. Yeah.
And when she notices his necklace now, it was his grandfather's pilot wings necklace, one he got for serving in the war, and it's made out of solid silver. Oh man, if you know any TV show or film, the moment anyone starts talking about a specific particular object and go into a little depth about said object, it's likely to come up again.
Yeah, I'm sure that has no importance whatsoever.
Exactly. When she leaves, Doug teases Aaron. Nah, Aaron's got to go, all that stuff. Anyway. Later that night, Aaron has a dream, or more like an out of body experience where he can see himself and Doug sleeping in a bed. Hey, here's a rare camera angle for Are You Afraid of Dark? It's a POV shot.
Hmm, bit different.
Yeah. He thinks it's cool. And then he hears a young girl. It's a girl from the start, and he's witnessed the events from the start of the episode. He thinks the girl is Connie, naturally, but she doesn't seem to know he is there. As the demon arrives, Aaron starts to get scared, but can only watch on as the room goes up in flames. As the demon closes on the girl, she turns to Aaron and speaks directly to him, saying, I was wrong, I did it wrong, and Aaron wakes up from his dream screaming and naturally scares Doug. This is all solid stuff, kind of progression in the episode.
Hmm, yeah.
Aaron tells Doug about his dream, but then notices Doug's looking a little sick. Suddenly, they then see Aaron's silver pilot wing necklace is moving by itself. It moves across the floor and under a wooden panel. Aaron tries to grab it and ends up knocking the panel out, where he finds the necklace and a partially burnt year. So somebody wanted him to find this particular thing. And inside, they find two pictures that look like Connie. Inside the yearbook, there is one picture at the corner with the name burnt off, and the next one to it has a green Q drawn around it. And the name says Laura Turner. They're confused, but there's no time to think about that. We've got to get on with an episode. We need to kind of just get to a point. So here's the demon, aka the creature of darkness. It's just here. That felt so rushed.
Yeah, it did, but I thought like at very least I thought the effects on the creature were not too bad. I mean, you don't really get a good look at it. It kind of cuts away quite quickly, but for what it is, I thought it was pretty decent, and also yeah, not too bad.
I agree. I don't particularly care for it either way. I like the way they shoot it. They shoot it low down, so it seems like a towering, imposing figure. I
Mm,
just have an issue with how slow it moves.
that's true.
Because he bears down on them, causing them to back away and scream, bringing their parents in, and of course, there is nothing to see, and they're sent to bed by their disbelieving parents. The trope of all tropes.
Yeah, I did like the reactions of the boys here, the actors. I thought they delivered the necessary fear and terror in quite a believable way. So, worth highlighting.
Yeah, absolutely. But the parents do notice that Doug is sick, and we do get another little touch of comedy as back in bed, that Aaron, for once, finally doesn't overreact. He's been sent to bed. His parents don't believe him, but then he grabs a baseball bat and holds it to his chest. And I was like, there we go. That's what I want to see.
Yeah.
The next day at school, Aaron brings the burnt yearbook to school with him. He finds Connie and asks her if she's related to Laura Turner. She's not impressed, and it turns out that Laura is her dead twin sister and that she thinks he has been put up to it. He has no idea what she's talking about, but does apologize as she walks away. Before she goes, though, he shows her the yearbook. It was her sister's yearbook. I think this is a really strong scene here, actually. The acting's really strong here because he has to play confusion, but also inquiry at the same time. And she kind of has to go from, look, you're trying to, like, you're being mean and winding her up and being cruel to, like, just generally just annoyed that's been brought up in general. I think they played off each other really well here to not give anything too much away, but just drop us a couple more hints to the bigger picture here.
Yeah, I don't disagree. I just at this point in the episode, I kind of started to feel like it was dragging a bit. I just
Okay.
feel like it's one of like I think because of some of the things you mentioned already about just it feels too familiar. Some of these things after you watch like a lot of these episodes one after the other and stuff, like you kind of like pick up on like you said the tropes and like
Yeah.
just certain story beats. Like it just feels like we've something we've already kind of seen. Like you mentioned the locker episode and whatnot. Kind of feels like already ground we've already gone over kind of thing. But I feel like it was dragging a little bit at this point.
I don't disagree with what you said there, particularly about how we have done this. And this is all very, very familiar. And it really continues that way as well. It does make this very, very forgettable overall, particularly when it just still amounts to the same. It's regard you can call it whatever you want. It's still just a ghost.
Exactly. Yeah.
Speaking of which, Doug is very sick in bed reading about ghosts and poltergeists. He finds a passage about a ghost called a Quicksilver, supposedly the poltergeist of a teenage girl known for leaving the letter Q wherever they haunt. Okay,
Hmm.
right, that's a thing.
That's pretty random.
It feels right. It feels
Yeah,
really specific.
very specific. That's definitely like a dartboard type situation, you know? Like we'll go with the Q. Yeah, that'll make sense.
Yeah. At school, Connie emotionally tells Aaron about her sister. She lived in his house a few years before, and Laura became convinced it was haunted. She believed a creature lived in the walls and found that it was built over an old cemetery. It's that old
Ooh.
trope. They didn't move the bodies. This, at the same time, she's starting to get very sick, which confounded the doctors. Laura blamed the ghost, but of course, no one believed her. So Laura decided she had to get rid of the ghost herself, and obviously, we know what happened. There's a big fucking plot hole in this. Do you know
Hmm.
what it is?
I did not pick up on a plot hole, so I'm interested.
Basically, we see the events playing out as they did when she died. Basically,
Yeah.
she she isn't sick. Like, look at the makeup and the stuff they do for Doug. She is fucking healthy looking. Like, why would you not make her sunken eyes, pale makeup, make her look sick? She doesn't look sick. And what Connie seems to be suggesting is that Laura was so sick she was near on her deathbed.
Hmm. Yeah. I mean, you were clearly paying far more attention than I was to that part. Yeah, you're right. It doesn't really make much sense.
Well, I gotta write notes, man. I gotta pay attention.
Like I said, it was just when it's dragging, sometimes you like kind of like tune it out sometimes.
Oh yeah. Okay. Back at home, Doug is sick and needs water, but can't be bothered to get out of bed to get more. But suddenly something fills up for him, and rightfully he at least is scared of this. We keep jumping back between Doug at home and Aaron with Connie. He explains his dream to her. She's not impressed. Thankfully, it's not like, oh my god, my sister wanted me to me. She's just like, yeah, shut up, mate. But he explains what he believes is going on and that he's worried for his brother as it appears to be the same series of events. Except it's not. This is not the same series of events. It is, you could say, oh, it could be the same thing to blame, but it's the wording again. We have this sometimes in this show where they just need to word something better and it would make more sense.
Yeah, you're right, definitely. But I don't know. I thought it was like this. I'm obviously completely wrong. So the brother's getting sick because of the creature like causing the sickness to the brother. I
Seemingly.
don't know. Yeah, I don't know why I thought it was that because he's like coughing and stuff. I thought it was like because she died in like a fire. That somehow like the smoke from the fire was like somehow affecting him. That's what I thought. I might be completely wrong. That's what I thought anyway.
That would be really nice. Unfortunately, it really does kind of spell out that the sickness is related directly to the creature because of the
Mm.
dark creature because of how he's fine when it's banished. But he never explained why. Like, had they gone into a little bit of detail, maybe 30 seconds, where they talked about how it takes life force, sucks the life force, and all that. The
Mm.
problem is the only thing they've investigated because we get no explanation about this monster. All we got
No.
told was the poltergeist that's haunting them is the Quicksilver, which is basically the ghost girl.
Mm. Yeah, yeah, it's a strange one.
It is. It is. You know what? Basically it's an episode that needed a couple of more minutes, so it could fill in some
Mm.
gaps here and there.
Yeah, definitely.
And we asked Connie for help, suggesting that it's her sister's way of giving her a second chance. I thought that was a dick line. I thought, where did you get that from? But you're just doing that to emotionally blackmail her.
Well, it works quite well, so
It does. Doug now tries calling out to the ghost demon, whatever, and starts to think it might be friendly, until all the furniture begins to shake. Aaron now arrives, and Doug reveals to him that they're being haunted by both an evil demon and a good spirit. I guess that we just didn't see the part where he came to that fucking conclusion.
nope, did it off screen.
Yes, Connie is with them, and they reveal they have the items that Connie has used to try and get rid of the. They've got the items that her sister had used to try and get rid of them. They're going to basically follow the instructions. And here comes the demon, slowly walking towards them. But again, they're not able to command into the amulet. It just isn't working. The demon now changes its mind and sets its sights on Doug, closing in on him slowly as everyone starts to panic. Then the demon grabs Doug and vanishes. That was a surprise. That was not what I expected to happen.
True, but my main issue with this episode is that they do this sequence of the whole like creature, monster, and the spell and everything that happens like 3 or 4 times in this episode, and it almost is identical every time. Like they just do the same exact thing. I know they like there's a purpose to them repeating the spell or whatever, but yeah, that's just where like the mundane side of it comes into it for me.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
Aaron now remembers that Laura tell him that she did the ritual wrong and tries to figure out what they missed. The demon now reappears, slowly walking towards them as Aaron realizes that the wand wasn't made with a silver spoon, it was made with a steel spoon. This is the reason why it never worked. Oh, so Laura was an idiot then.
Yep.
Who the fuck thinks they have silver spoons just in a drawer? Literally, we're talking a proper silver spoon in your kitchen drawer.
Yeah, I mean,
But
that's a mistake a young child might be able to make, but yeah,
she's not young enough to make that mistake.
no.
But hey, folks, to remember what he has around his neck, he rips off his silver necklace, places it onto the wand, and that somehow makes the entire thing work. Commanding the demon to stay, and he then commands at the end of the amulet, and that is that. Doug is back, feeling better, and here's the spirit of Laura too. Connie apologizes to her for not believing her before. Laura smiles but doesn't speak and takes the amulet. The sisters blow each other a kiss and touch hands, and that's that. Because we're back at the campsite, everyone is happy until Tucker takes out the magic flute, tries it again, and causes a rainstorm. Ooh, so magic might be real after all. Yeah, this is just such a meh episode.
That's just it. I mean, if they're going to sum up in one word, but this is quite an unusually slow burn of an episode. You don't really get them, so I guess it like is a little bit unique in that way. Story is very, very simplistic, and I guess it tells it in like a coherent way for the most part. Not too many faults, so I guess there's that. But it just comes across, like you said, just really mundane. Doesn't have anything particularly memorable. It does the same little sequence with the creature and everything like multiple times, and it clearly just doesn't have any like many good like ideas for creativity. But couldn't have mixed it up and done it a little bit different. Yeah, I find it also pretty unrealistic that Tucker, of all people, would tell such a boring story, considering he's the youngest there, he's a young child. He's probably got the most imaginative, imagination for like and a creative story. You'd think he'd make up some crazy stuff, but to him, I feel like maybe this story should be given to someone else because it doesn't really make any sense him telling it. Yeah.
I want to stop you there. We might want to go back there. It's a Kiki story, not a Tucker story.
Is
He's
it?
got the flute, yeah.
All right, fair enough.
So I'll,
Okay.
I'll snip that part out about what you said about Tucker's story because otherwise it
Okay.
doesn't mesh well what you're saying.
No,
Yeah.
fine, yeah. No, yeah. My mistake. Yeah.
I mean, you
What?
summed it up perfectly. The fact that the summation of this episode is that it has a beginning, middle, and an end, and that's a positive. It tells its story and at least at the end, you're like, well, they wrapped it up, and that's the best you can say.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's episode 11, The Tale of the Quicksilver. What do you reckon? You got any thoughts on this one you want to share? You know what to do? Let us know in the comments. Thank you very much for watching. If you've enjoyed what you've seen, please consider hitting that like and subscribe button. It does help us out. You can find us at gbhbl.com and across all social media platforms. And if you really want to give us a bit of extra support, please consider buying us a cup of coffee over on our coffee page. Thank you.